CCBC is the place where you can soar to success, prepare to care, code like a pro, serve and protect, inspire learning, and build the future. High school academies at CCBC are the first choice for students and parents. They allow juniors and students to jumpstart a college education and save time and money. Choose from several different programs, plus scholarships and aid are available for qualified students. Call 724-480-3474 or visit ccbc.edu/high school academies to learn more. CCBC, you belong here.
Didn't hear the first one. Clear as mud. And now we're not. 1230 WBBP 12. I'm already drawn to what you're doing.
You're already drawn to what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Well,
it's Teleforum, it's Beaver County Radio, 1230 WBBP, 1460 WNBA, 99.3 FM presented by St. Barnabas, 95.7 FM, and Tom Young is here. And Tom Young, you've raised
I'm here.
No, dude, you're here. You're here. And this is being live streamed on the station Facebook page, on Beaver County Radio's Facebook page. Your live Facebook streaming it on yours.
Yes.
And I'm already drawn because you whipped out the skill that every great grade school teacher has. Bright colors.
Bright colors.
You always come in with a bunch of information. Tom Young is my guest. Tom Young of First Consultants and so many other things. But you always come in with a lot of information. But you went full color, and that tells me we're going to talk about something important.
Today is the day, Eddie.
Today's the day.
I am going to reveal a secret today.
Okay.
The secret of how to create multi-generation wealth.
Okay.
Next generation, in unbelievable amounts. No tax, no government, all tax-free. And build it without any out-of-pocket costs.
Is the secret in one of the red blocks on your piece of paper?
Well, that's
because I'm going to try and cheat and work ahead next to you.
The part of the story is right here in this gentleman, right here. What did I do with him? Where did he go?
There is I see a lot of distinguished oil painting looking museum
Well, they are,
dudes.
and this is the history of banking. This is off of U.S. debt clock. You know, every month I bring back, and I brought the numbers.
Where
today.
are we?
This is disheartening.
Don't open with disheartening.
Well, you got to shoot the arrow, and then we'll create a target that is impenetrable.
We got to deal with it to learn to deal with it.
We got to deal with it to learn to deal with it.
What's the debt?
Okay, the debt is $30.453 trillion.
Oh man, I left my wallet at home.
Okay, that 91,468 per citizen.
Yeah, no.
242,985 per taxpayer.
Okay, no.
U.S. tax revenue for the last recent 12 months is $4,211 billion. The spending was $6,290 billion, so about $2 trillion. They borrowed 33% more than they took in. Over and above.
And I already owe them how much as a taxpayer?
I'm going to get there.
Oh, wait, there's more numbers to put to it.
More numbers. The unfunded liability is $169 trillion.
Okay.
So 30.4 and 169.255, pretty close to $200 trillion.
At that point, don't you just round up, keep the change kind of attitude?
I'm going to round it out here, okay? If I add the two of them together, per citizen, it's $599,816 per citizen.
Okay. No.
Per taxpayer, it's $1,606,252. Now, if the government today, Eddie, said, that's it, we're done wasting the consumer's money, we're done wasting the taxpayers' money, we're going to look at what the government's doing and what can we transfer to private management, private business. We don't need to manage
Sell the debt.
Sell the debt. We're going to sell some of this stuff.
Right.
Because right now, if they didn't borrow another dollar, we just started to pay it back today.
Okay.
Okay, per citizen, remember, this is a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage at 5% interest, which is the current interest rate today. So that's a mortgage of $599,816, and the monthly payment for 30 years would be $3,220. That's all you have to pay, Eddie, is $3,220 per citizen.
Per
month. How many are in your house?
Yeah.
You know, that's per citizen.
Per month.
If we go per taxpayer, okay, it's $8,623 a month.
Nope.
$103,000 a year. 30-year payments, $38,640 a year mortgage payment for the $599 and $103,000 a year for the $1,606,000.
Well, you were right.
So all of that point that I'm trying to make is wake up.
You were right.
Stop letting it stand up. Let it hit you in the chest. Just
get it over with.
Get it over with. We need this. Today is voting day.
Yes.
Go vote. Vote for anybody that isn't a current politician. We get rid of them all because they are a bunch of blanks. They have no credibility at all. They don't manage our money. They waste our money. They spend our money. They give money away to people, and in the long run, it comes back to them to help pay for their. Now, that's the end of politics. That's the end of that part of the show, too.
Oh, no. I was watching you throw down. I was fine with it. Tom Young is my guest. This hour is sponsored by First Consultants and all the information inside. You're cool with that? I was mesmerized. There were some, not everything you said, but there were a couple of things that you said that I might copy and say later.
You're welcome to
I appreciate it.
anything
Just giving you a heads
today,
up. Giving
You're
the blank,
welcome to anything
blank.
I say.
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking at, back. Now, these are sheets. Where did these come off of? These come off of the usdebtclock.org. And there's only a couple of them on here I want to talk about.
And that's the history of banking.
And this is the history of banking and debt in America. And some of the things that people said that were supposedly smart people in the past said about money. 1963, okay. U.S. Treasury notes. Issues $4.3 billion in interest-free, debt-free Treasury notes. First time since Lincoln in 1862 that a president issued debt-free greenbacks. They just printed money. Now President Kennedy in 1963, on June 4th, 63, Kennedy signed a presidential document called Executive Order 11110. It gave the Treasury Department the explicit authority to issue silver certificates against any silver bullion, silver or standard silver dollars in the Treasury. 5 months after Kennedy's assassination, all Series 1958 silver certificates were removed from circulation. See, Kennedy and all the presidents, up until this most recent president, have always been and have been for fiscal responsibility and creating money that was backed by asset. Money, silver certificates were backed by silver in the Treasury.
Like the gold standard.
The gold standard,
right.
Exactly. And I've told that story in the past about the gold standard and how Nixon was forced to remove us from the gold standard. There was one here, and I'll find it in a second, just bear with me. And the name is Rothschild. And the Rothschilds go back to 1700. And what they created, that was the beginning of the banking. Here it is. There it is there. Mayer M. Shell Rothschild, founding father of international finance. Let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws. Should I say that again, Eddie?
No, because
let me issue and control the nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws.
It's Machiavellian, because if you control money, you control the laws.
You control everything.
And then, here's the Southern phrase for that. The golden rule? He who got the gold make the rule.
They've tried to form a central banking back in the 1800s, and here's what Andrew Jackson said, president from 1829 to 1837. You are a den of vipers and thieves, and I intend to rout you out. And by the eternal God, I will rout you out. If Congress has the right to issue paper money, it was given to them to be used by themselves and not to be delegated to individuals or corporations.
Did you know that there are hundreds of lawyers in Congress, but less than 10?
Moneyed interest derives from a paper currency, which they are able to control, and from the multitude of corporations and exclusive privilege which are employed.
What did he see? Beliefs. What did Jackson see that people don't see? When you open with a den of vipers, I mean, that's God's spell level stuff. What did Jackson see?
I mean, what do we have in Washington now? We have a den of vipers.
Okay.
I'm not going to name names because I believe there's some on both sides of the street in Washington, D.C. And the information is so distraught today that how do you make ends of it? And the news media, in collusion, they created an atmosphere the last 5 years of this. And I'm not going to get into that, but they led people to believe a mountain of information that has now been proven absolutely false. And now the news media blocks it from getting to the public. They don't want the public to know that all the things that they did were a bunch of hooey. And I'll use that, my word, hooey.
You use blank, blank, blank already.
Blank, blank, blank.
Yeah.
Here we are today in America, and I brought this with me, and I don't, if you don't mind, I want to read this. This is
your show.
This is Paul Harvey. In 1965, Paul Harvey broadcast, "If I Were the Devil." I am posting this transcript of this on Fresh Manna today. It is really amazing to realize over 47 years ago how accurately this prophesied. Say this is today, back 47 years ago when he did this. The future spiritual condition of the United States. Many of the statements were considered ridiculously outlandish at that time in history, yet we find ourselves today. So Paul Harvey, "If I Were the Devil" transcript. If I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness. I would have 1/3 of its real estate, 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old, I would preach to pray after me, Our Father which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors on how to make lurid literature exciting so that everything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction, and I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families that war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and a nation at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promise of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors in every schoolhouse door. Isn't it interesting? 47 years ago, he wrote
Nailed it.
Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, and then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress and in his own churches. I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. Listen to that, 47 years ago. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbols of Easter an egg and the symbols of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those and who have and give to those wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambition. Let me say it again. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those wanted until I had killed the incentive of ambition. And what do you bet? I could get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extreme and hard work in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I would undress you in public and could lure you into bed with diseases for which there are no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing. Paul Harvey, good day. I've read this several times on my broadcast, and it's just so appropriate for what is going on in the world today. And I just had to read that, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. I want to get on today with talking about, we're almost at halfway. Where
I've told
did the
you,
show
Tom,
go, Eddie?
Tom, I've said this to you off the air. I've said this to you on the air. When you show up, I'm biscuits and gravy. I'm going to sit here and listen to what you got to say because it's interesting to me. You run the program. I just sit here and pretend, hey, here's Tom. Off we go.
All I pray, Eddie, I want to get my buffer out. And,
we didn't start with a prayer.
I want to buff the lenses.
Yeah.
And help people to see the real potential that lies inside themselves and in their future. And prayer. That we didn't start today with a prayer.
How about we do this? How about we do a prayer going
into
the break, into the news,
and then we'll come back
let's
we'll do the show that I wrote up to do today.
That's the beauty of it. A lot of people can't do a show that they've written down. You're doing shows off the top of your head. Now we pray.
Now we pray. Lord, we pray that everybody in the world, this Wuhan virus thing that has gone around the world, has touched every life in the deepest jungles of the Amazon to the Sahara Desert. We pray that everybody finds the strength and conviction to get moving again, to move on and to overcome. We pray for those who have lost loved ones. We pray for the loved ones who have been lost, that the Lord would gather them into his arms, take them to his heaven above. In Jesus' name we pray. And a special prayer for this conflict thing going on in Ukraine and Russia, that somehow they find some brains and figure out a way to stop the killing. So God bless.
News is next. It's Teleforum with Tom Young.
You can rock and roll with Peggy Sue, but when it comes time to restore your custom rod, there's only one thing to do. Call Gary Snerick and Ooze Body Works in Freedom. From any color you can dream up to vinyl graphics that will turn heads, they can turn your old ride into something new or restore it to its former glory. Gnu's is not limited to four wheels either. They can get your motorcycle ready for the road and even make parts they can't order for collision, general auto repairs, and more. Call Gnu's Body Works, 8th Street in Freedom.
Did you know that there are hundreds of lawyers in Congress, but less than 10 engineers? No wonder they can't get anything done. I'm Jeremy Schaefer, and I use my engineering PhD from Carnegie Mellon to build a business that has improved roads and bridges right here in Pennsylvania. Engineering requires solutions, and America needs those right now. As a small businessman, I understand the crippling effects of inflation on businesses. And as a husband and father of 5, our trips to the grocery store and gas station have gotten a lot more expensive. In Congress, I'll work to lower the cost of gas and groceries, cut taxes on working families, and bring solutions instead of infighting to Washington. I'm Jeremy Schaefer, and I'm running for Congress to be a problem solver, not a career politician. I'm Jeremy Schaefer, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Jeremy Schaefer for Congress.
Highmark Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and Allegheny Health Network are pleased to present a new show on Beaver County Radio called Heroes. Tune in every Saturday at 10 and Sunday at 12:30 for Heroes, a wonderful half-hour segment hosted by Jim Roddy that profiles many of the local heroes in this community. Click highmark.com for more information and then tune in for Heroes this Saturday at 10 and again Sunday at 12:30 on WBVP, WMBA, and 99.3 FM.
The best of Beaver County is easy to discover. It's right here on your radio. Tune in Beaver County Radio or watch the best of Beaver County live on Facebook or YouTube video this and every Thursday from 11 to 11:30. The program is made possible by St. Barnabas. For over 3 years now, the show has been dedicated to shining light on the great things going on right here in your neighborhood and the people that are making it happen. This Thursday, enjoy conversation and insight from an intriguing lineup of guests who are creating excitement and having an impact right here in Beaver County. Your friends and neighbors at St. Barnabas are pleased to support the best of Beaver County. The radio broadcast will also be replayed each week from 11:30 to noon on Sundays on Beaver County Radio. Archived Best of Beaver County videos can be viewed on the WBVP WMBA Facebook page. It's your chance to encounter the best of Beaver County with host Mike Romai this Thursday starting at 11. For more information, visit beavercountyradio.com.
For an entrepreneur, life and business go hand in hand. Getting the most out of both sometimes can be as simple as a new idea or an insightful conversation. Join attorney and author Rocco Cazza, along with realtor and podcaster Eric McKenna, for The Entrepreneur Life, Beaver County Radio's newest show. The Entrepreneur Life airs from 10:30 to 12:30 this and every Saturday morning. Listen on Beaver County Radio or watch the video stream on Facebook and YouTube. Don't just get busier, become happier, and ultimately wealthier. Tune in to The Entrepreneur Life Saturday starting at 10:30 on Beaver County Radio. As one of the first law firms in the country to file asbestos claims, Goldberg, Persky & White's success stems from a deeper understanding of our clients. Many of GPW's Pittsburgh attorneys had family members who worked in the steel industry, and their blue-collar upbringing has given them the unique ability to personally relate to the hardworking men and women who are suffering from lung cancer and mesothelioma. When choosing a law firm, choose the law firm that treats you like one of its own. If you have lung cancer or mesothelioma, call 1-800-COMPLEX. Goldberg, Persky & White, truly working lawyers for working people.
You're listening to Beaver County Radio, 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge, broadcasting live from the St. Barnabas studios.
As one of the first law firms in the country to file asbestos claims, Goldberg, Persky & White's success stems from a deeper understanding of our clients. Many of GPW's Pittsburgh attorneys had family members who worked in the steel industry, and their blue-collar upbringing has given them the unique ability to personally relate to the hardworking men and women who are suffering from lung cancer and mesothelioma. When choosing a law firm, choose the law firm that treats you like one of its own. If you have lung cancer or mesothelioma, call 1-800-COMPLEX. Goldberg, Persky & White, truly working lawyers for working people.
Yeah. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas. We're going to get right back to it because Tom's chomping at the bit. Tom Young, I blame that on you. I'm as excited too. Tom Young is my guest. Tom Young of First Consultants. It was a very quick first half hour of the program. You looked at me and said, how did it go?
Where did it go?
We get excited and things move on. You can watch this in addition to listen to this. If you want to watch this on the Beaver County Radio Facebook page, it's being live streamed. On Tom, your Facebook page, it's being live streamed.
Yes.
Now,
the Family Money Farm Group.
The Family Money Farm Group, you're with, at the beginning of the program, you said you're going to give us the secret of how to hang on to our money past our generation and next and next. Are we going to get to that? Or are we
Absolutely. That's where I want to go. Where,
okay.
Everything that I do, I look at it as God's map. Because God would never do anything to dishearten you or discourage you.
Okay.
It is all about you and the success that is inside of you. The secret to creating wealth is age old. This is not new. What I'm going to share today has been around for 150 years in America, and that's why I brought up this Rothschild guy.
Right.
And when
the history of banking.
And the history of banking. I mean, there's lots more there, and I don't want to go into all that. I don't want that to be the point today. But the point of that is you need to make a decision to become the CFO at home and operate your home finances like a bank. It's that simple. Be your own bank. Here's Nelson's book. R. Nelson Nash changed my life. Right there. There's his book. Unfortunately, Nelson passed away a couple years ago, and the title of the book is Becoming Your Own Banker, the Infinite Banking Concept. And so banks are the richest organizations in the world.
They do sponsor a whole lot of stadiums, don't they?
And the statement, and the reason I brought up Rothschild is Rothschild's. When I was doing my book, The Family Money Farm, the CFO Project, and doing the research for it, I found the Rothschilds. Now, in searching information, there is a road less traveled in there, so to speak, where there's two sides of the coin for the Rothschilds.
Right.
On one side of the conspiracy theory, as they refer to it in the research, they are part of every central banking system in the world. Remember what that little thing I said? They just give me control of all the money, And I don't matter what laws they make.
Right.
You know.
I'm in control.
And if you think about the Federal Reserve in the U.S. today, okay, now
which is just, you taught me this, it's just made up.
It's just a name because there's nothing federal about
Right.
it. It's all privately owned banks, and they are all like a spider web attached to the Rothschild organization in Europe. That's my belief. That was my belief that came out of the research, because on one side of this conspiracy theory, it is believed that the Rothschild name, the Rothschilds, are worth $50 trillion or more. That's a pretty heavy chunk of change. Okay,
That's
$50 trillion.
You're not clipping coupons. No.
And on the other side of that, they say, oh, that's all conspiracy theory. They're just a clandestine family. They're dying off, and and maybe they're worth $500 billion, 500 billion, or something like that.
Yeah.
But that was the research that I found in doing that. So there's a secret in this, folks. There's a secret in banking. And let me share some information. Now, we live in Beaver Valley, and I don't know what part of the world you're in that are listening to me, because I know I have followers all over the world. But we have a local regional bank called Huntington Bank. Yeah, you know Huntington Bank. They're a pretty big organization locally. I don't know, they got 20, 30 branches in multiple states. And the last numbers I have, and I don't have them with me, but in a bank, there is a thing called Tier 1 money. Tier 1 money is Eddie, if you and I were going to start a bank, first off, we'd need $20 million in cash.
Okay.
Okay, $20 million in cash.
Get with me after payday.
That $20 million has to be kept absolutely safe. It cannot be put at risk, can't be invested in the stock market. It's the core reserve of the bank. It is referred to as Tier 1 money. So it may take us 5 years to get in front of the banking commissioner. So we get a banking charter. So now we got a charter. We got to buy a building, or a nice building, got to have employees, got to train them all and set all this up, so that's more investment.
And Tier 1 money can't be used for any. Tier 1 money is like Fort Knox of paper money for the bank.
You got it.
Okay.
You got it.
All right.
So now we got our bank. We got everything going on, and we don't make any money until we get depositors. Now, folks, I know there's listeners that remember this. I remember when you went in, if you went in and you opened a $1,000 CD, they gave you a toaster.
A
You
toaster?
remember those days?
No.
You don't remember that? You're just a young kid.
I don't
Eddie.
remember the toaster
you're
days.
just a young kid.
Yeah.
You'd go into the bank. They gave you stuff for opening an account, whether it was a checking account, some little thing, or whatever.
First National Bank waffle iron.
Could
have been, yeah.
Whatever. So now we're open, and this Tier 1 money we got to keep safe. Now let me jump to the point. If you go on the internet and you do a search, and you search BOLI, B-O-L-I,
All right.
or C-O-L-I. What is that? B-O-L-I. Do you know what it is, folks? It's called bank-owned life insurance. Remember, I've talked about this. There are two kinds of life insurance companies. There are corporations that are stockholder-owned that operate for profit for the stockholder, and then there are mutual dividend-paying life insurance companies that are owned by the policyholders.
Right.
The banking systems are, in life insurance, they're the most profitable institutions in the country. And all the mutual companies, there are only a few dozen of those in my mind left, real mutual companies. They're all over 100 years old, so there's no newbies. They're all old companies.
Okay.
So the point being of this is Huntington Bank, I have a document that shows at the time, and this document's probably 10, 12 years old, but they were worth at that time $3.292 billion in their Tier 1 money.
Okay.
At 41% of that Tier 1 money in cash value, permanent guaranteed life insurance. Now let me say that again, folks. Everything that you are marketed to by the financial industry wanting you to buy term and invest the difference. Never buy whole life insurance. Never buy that guaranteed cash value life insurance stuff. Never, never, never. That's the marketing of the marketplace, because they want you to buy, we have competitive products. Mm-hmm. I have a life insurance policy 38 years old. You would have had to have earned 4.5% after tax to equal what my cash value is today in my policy. And I have borrowed from the insurance company to buy automobiles, to add additions onto my building in Beaver, and borrowed and paid back using that money as collateral. Now, all of that being said, guess what? It didn't involve the government in any way.
Nice.
No 1099s.
Yeah.
I didn't have to report it on my tax return. It was private. It was mine. It was my knowledge, and I could pay it back or not pay it back, but if they're going to charge me interest. So it behooves me to be an honest, Nelson always said, you got to be an honest banker. If you borrow, you pay back.
Right.
Now, yes, I paid interest to the insurance company. Well, let me clear that up a minute. A mutual dividend-paying life insurance company, yes, they make money. But at the end of the year, they declare a dividend, and who gets the dividends? The policyholder.
You do.
Policyholder gets the dividends. In addition to that, a whole life policy has a guaranteed interest rate inside the contract. Up until January this year, it was 4%. Now it's 3%. The federal government stepped in because of the interest rate environment, and they wanted the insurance companies, the life insurance companies specifically, to have more reserves for the future to protect what they guarantee. So they need more reserves. So the government forced the insurance companies to reissue their products with a 3% guaranteed rate of return in the policy. So with a lower rate of return than to guarantee the death benefit, they have to create bigger reserves. Does that make sense?
Barely.
Okay. So lower the, it's like a defined benefit pension plan. So if you have a pension plan and when you retire someday, the company is going to pay you income to replace a percentage of your income. You know, they used to get 1% a year for every year, so 30 years, 30%, et cetera. But in that type of plan, if the interest rates are high in the portfolio of assets, if the interest rates are high, they don't have to make this big a contribution to meet the obligation.
Right.
If the interest rates are lower, they have to put in more money.
Okay.
It costs the company more.
All right.
So the same thing applies here to what I'm telling you. So the insurance companies have to have bigger reserves because the interest rates are lower to meet future guaranteed obligations in the policies. But that's a benefit for you and I. You know why? Because it means that the insurance companies are more stable, they have more assets. And you have to understand, you know, companies that are at least A-rated or better are the only companies that I would even consider doing business with.
Why haven't other companies said we're going to do the mutual thing like the old-timer companies that have been doing it?
They're not going to become mutual now because they have stockholders to deal with.
So they don't have time to
they have to have
do
tons
well
and
over
tons
time.
of money, back to that tier one money like in a bank.
Right.
To start a mutual company today, you would need a huge hoard of money. A huge hoard of money.
And those people that are going to give you the huge hoard of money are going to want to return quickly.
That's right. So there's no stockholder. So who's going to invest to start the company in doing that? So now let's take it to the next level in what I'm talking about. Because now here's the banks, and now let's go to corporations.
Okay.
COLI, corporate-owned life insurance. Guess what? Corporations do the same thing. Now, I've been dumbfounded at this for so many years that the financial world has been so good at brainwashing you, Eddie, and everybody else into thinking the way they want you to think, because that's really what my purpose is, to get you to think differently, think rightly with integrity, and think outside of the box. You have to refuse to accept the norm. If you do what everybody else does, you only can expect the average of what everybody else got. And if you're happy with that, God bless you. That's just the way it is. But it just doesn't work. I'm eat up. I'm 72. I'm a 72-year-old little kid, and that's the way I look at what I am, chasing a dream to touch millions of lives, to change their future, to change what they see, change how people think, etc. So these policies, now, I'm going to give you a story. In my book, The Family Money Farm, the CFO Project, there are 4 stories of 4 different imaginary clients in that book.
All right.
One couple is 80, 90,000 a year income, all the way up to a couple that makes 400,000 plus. And the way that we structured them is explained in there. But you have to be willing to stick with it. This is something because you are going to get bombarded, and that's why I do these radio shows. It's why I do the podcasts every week. I do, anywhere from 2 to 3 podcasts a week every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And this is the same thing. I did a podcast yesterday at noon. This was the same topic that I talked on yesterday, maybe not as broad with as much time as we have on the radio to talk about. But this is the secret of all secrets in getting people out of debt, getting them out of debt, saving money, creating wealth. Now, Johnny goes to college.
Okay.
Where does he get the money to go to college? Well, you got fast reform.
Working at the milkshake
fast reform
era.
In October.
Yeah.
In the year that you're a junior in high school.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be a senior and then you're going to go to college. So the fast reform comes out in October. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to go to college for a year. But the fast reform is where you're looking for government benefits.
Right.
And the one couple in my book, when I met them 15 years ago, they were a couple of PhD professionals making $400,000 plus a year. They had a mortgage on a house they had purchased. They had a home equity loan for the remodeling they did after they bought the house. They had 2 car loans and they had credit card balances and $200,000 in school loans.
Ooh.
That was their picture, making big money.
Making big money, but paying big money.
They had put a big down payment on the house. And so we refinanced the house to a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, and we took some cash out to start the process, to pay some things off, to free up capital. So the new mortgage was a lower payment than what they had. So we freed up a couple $1,000s of monthly cash flow in our structure and what we did. Well, 15 years later, long story short, here we are today. They still have a mortgage on the house. We've actually refinanced it twice now. And they still have a mortgage on the house, but they have no other debt. They are insured properly to economic human life value. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, you're sitting out there and listening to me, and if something happened to you, what would your family do? Are you insured properly? If you own a home, you have your home insured to replace your home, right, Eddie? Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right.
The bank won't let you do it otherwise.
They're not going to give you the money to get it.
Well, you're the goose that laid the golden egg. If you have the goose that laid the golden egg, you're going to insure the eggs of the goose.
Oh, I'm going to insure the goose.
I'm going to insure the goose. So that's where we come down to insuring people properly with life insurance, having proper amounts of life insurance. If somebody died and the family looked at the advice that I gave their parents and they didn't have very much of any life insurance at all, and I'm the life insurance guy.
Right.
I could see the family suing me because their father or mother didn't have the right amount of life insurance. Why didn't you tell them to buy more? So there's a liability in this at the same time. Now, it's all about finding the money. Finding the money to do this, to start the process. And I guess that's what my specialty is. I find the money that people are losing unknowing and unnecessarily. I show them how to get it back and turn it into future savings. Now, here's the question I ask a lot of people. Is your mother and father still alive? And they would say yes. I says, are you expecting a large inheritance when they die, tax-free? Would you like to have an inheritance when they die tax-free?
Yeah, because it's not going to be tax-free if it's inheritance, right?
Absolutely. So now, and the funny thing, they think right away is having life insurance on my parents. Mm-hmm. That's my retirement plan. Now, my parents are all gone.
Right.
And I didn't know this way back then. But I have a daughter and 2 grandsons. I own life insurance policies on my daughter and my son-in-law.
All right.
Okay. I plan to be here long enough to watch these 2 little boys grow up and become adults, and Pep-Pap's going to teach them about money. Okay. So when they become responsible adults, the policies on their mother and father that I own,
right,
and we use the cash value in the family bank, your family money farm. We grow money trees on our family money farm, okay? And so those policies, I'm going to transfer the ownership to my 2 grandsons. So 40 years from now, you wouldn't even believe the value of that death benefit on those policies, plus having access to the cash value all throughout their lives, never having to go to the bank and borrow a dime at the bank unless it was an economic right thing to do, and do that.
It's BYOB, be your own
Be
bank.
be your own bank. And you know, people, they look skeptical at me, but wake up, folks. The rich people do it. There's a book. You want to go buy it? It's called The Rockefeller Method. And the Rockefellers, if you go back to the turn of the last century, 1900, and there was this 20, 30 families. They were worth millions at that time, some of them hundreds of millions of dollars. So they were billionaires in today's money,
Right.
back at the turn of the last century. Well, a lot of them, Vanderbilts and all of them, their wealth went generation two, and then it got dissipated. Well, the Rockefellers created a family trust. And they put the money in the trust, sort of like the Clintons. I don't like to use that name, but we all hear about the nonprofit foundation the Trumps created. Well, when you have so much money, you can't spend it. You don't need it. So they create these nonprofit foundations.
Right.
And so now the money's never taxed. They can grow it, invest it, and you got to give some away each year. But what do you do for income if you give all your money to this? Well, you become an officer, you become an administrator of the trust, and it pays you a salary to manage the trust.
Pretty good gig.
So there are things, folks, that they're just not taught to anybody. They're not taught to everybody. They are kept secret because the banks, the financial world does not want you to know this stuff.
Why don't people know it? When you think of, walk down the street and say, name two really wealthy entities, banks and corporations. Why don't people know that banks and corporations do exactly what you're talking about? Because it requires them to get past the advertising?
Think of the advertising and the marketing
Okay.
is the brainwashing. You know, it's like, what's McDonald's 40 years ago, what was the commercial?
To all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.
When was the last time you heard that, Eddie? 40 years ago from McDonald's.
Well, sometimes I sing it alone.
But how
yeah,
many
you're
times?
right.
But how many times did you hear that when that was going on? That's
All the time. It was on when the TV shows were on. It
Sure.
was targeted. And
when you were growing up. You know, when we were in school, we had to memorize stuff. You remember that? I hated that.
I
didn't like that at all. But we had to memorize stuff.
I remember memorizing stuff, and I remember spelling tests. Neither one I liked. So yeah, you memorize. Columbus sailed the ocean blue 1492. That stuff, right?
Exactly. So I know I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action toward its attainment, and I here now promise to render such action. Do you think repeating that every day has an impact on how I think?
It should.
Absolutely. That's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you haven't read that book, get the book and read it. The Napoleon Foundation are putting out some repeats, some redone of some of his books. I would read everything that Napoleon Hill puts out. He was the #1 writer of books that were self-help books to get control of your thinking and to literally get control of your life and your future.
Is it a tough thing to get people to recognize that they've been programmed? Because we all have in some form or another, and we don't like being told that. Is that a difficult thing to get some people to get?
What I find is the experience I find is that when people come to see me, they call, they make an appointment, and most of my business is referrals. So, people talk about what I do, and they refer other people to me. And I have clients in 35 states now. I have a new client in Colorado, which is the daughter of a local, client who's way into retirement and that. But okay, so now it's their daughter and son-in-law that are becoming clients. But it's to get people to think differently. Usually something has to occur in their life. Something happens. Because when people come to see me, I'll ask them, what is your agenda today? What you made an appointment, you came to see me. What is your agenda today?
Why are you here?
Why are you here?
Yeah.
And then I start appointment. I want to get to know them, so I ask a bunch of questions and figure out who they are. What are the 3 biggest dangers you'd see in the next 3 years or so in your financial realm, in the financial realm of your life, what are the 3 biggest dangers you see looking forward?
Do they have an answer for that, or is that the first time they've been asked?
That's the first time they've never been asked that before.
Okay.
And then opportunities. What opportunities do you perceive lie in front of you financially that you would want to take advantage of?
Please, before we run out of time, tell people how they can get in touch with you if they don't.
I'm Tom Young. You can get me at First Consultants, Inc. in Beaver, Pennsylvania. I'm right by the cemetery, and that's the 2-minute mark. We're coming to the end, okay? So we're coming to the end. I'm in Beaver, 724-728-6820. You can go to my website, www.1stconsultantsinc.com. When you go there, right at the top is my calendar. So you can go right in there. You can set a Zoom meeting if you're not local in the area. You can set a face-to-face meeting or a telephone call. I'm here to help people. I change people's lives for a living. Remember the things you got to deal with: risk, taxes, regulation, inflation, and depreciation of the money. If you're making financial decisions in your life and it's not moving towards solving any of those 5 elements, then you're going the wrong direction.
And banks want all your money for as long as they can hold on to it.
I want all your money, more ongoing, keep it forever, and give back as little as possible. And the Financial Mastery Coaching Blueprint, which is a brand new ebook that you can get by going to cfo-project.com and put in your name and email address. You'll get an email with a link for my book, The Family Money Farm, the CFO Project, and then you'll get a second link for my newest ebook, Financial Mastery Coaching, The Blueprint.
I learned more sitting talking to you than I learned in any econ class.
But it's all about frameworks. I suffer with the financial planning mantra that people put on me, and I think financial planning is a misleading term. I build financial frameworks for people that are individually designed for individuals.
Tom Young's been my guest. It's been brilliant as always. Teleforum, Beaver County Radio.
You don't have to have had an accident, suffered a sports injury, or undergone surgery to take advantage of the benefits of physical therapy from Dale Reckless at MRS Physical Therapy. At a recent live broadcast at MRS Physical Therapy in Bridgewater, Dale Reckless talked about treatment for the common foot pain condition, plantar fasciitis.
Plantar fasciitis is a pretty common thing, and I tell my patients, don't wait to come and get some treatment for it. The longer you wait, the more chronic it becomes. We'll still fix it, but it'll just take longer. If you come to see me when you're first getting the symptoms, then I can take care of it a lot quicker. What I do with plantar fasciitis is we give some stretches to do. I do a lot of hands-on exercise, and then I also do an evaluation of how they walk and how they stand. They need the hands-on work that I do to help cure the plantar fasciitis.
If you need physical therapy for any reason, choose the place that your friends and neighbors do. MRS Physical Therapy in Bridgewater and Cranberry Physical Therapy in Cranberry. Visit mrsphysicaltherapy.com.